Senior Overseer Krulvex adjusted his ceremonial mantle as the Conclave flagship Eternal Majesty slid into Earth's orbit. Through the observation dome, the blue-green planet looked disappointingly ordinary. His thin lips curled into what his species considered a smile, but would have terrified any human who saw it. "Status report on the primitives," he commanded, not bothering to look at his subordinate. Junior Overseer Meztal bowed slightly. "All planetary defense systems appear consistent with our previous assessment." Exalted One. Primitive kinetic weapons, rudimentary energy shields concentrated around major population centers, and approximately 300 orbital platforms that their broadcasts identify as scientific research stations. Krulvex nodded absently. Earth was classified as a Category 3 civilization. Achieved spaceflight, established lunar colonies, but limited to their home system and dependent on chemical propulsion. The standard procedure was clear: offer protection, demand resources, and gradually absorb them into the Conclave's hierarchy of client species. Prepare the diplomatic shuttle. I will lead the delegation personally. Such minor acquisitions normally wouldn't warrant his attention, but Earth possessed unusually high concentrations of rare minerals. The performance evaluation algorithms would look favorably on his initiative. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, its advanced cloaking system maintaining invisibility until the final approach to the designated landing zone. A large concrete expanse outside a complex of white buildings, the humans called the United Nations. Krulvex was mildly surprised to see an organized reception committee waiting. Someone must have detected them despite the cloaking technology. Interesting, but ultimately irrelevant. The shuttle touched down with characteristic conclave elegance, barely disturbing the air around it. The boarding ramp extended and Krulvex emerged with calculated poise, his 7-foot frame resplendent in iridescent diplomatic attire. Ambassador Diana Chen stepped forward, her expression revealing nothing of the emergency meetings that had occurred since the conclave ship first appeared on long-range sensors 18 hours earlier. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, I welcome you to our world," she said with a slight bow. Krulvex paused mid-stride. United Earth Government. Their intelligence indicated this planet remained divided into competing nation-states. Curious. "I am Senior Overseer Krulvex of the Galactic Conclave. We bring greetings and an offer of protection to your developing world." His translation device rendered his complex harmonic speech into flat human English. "We've been expecting you." Ambassador Chen replied with an enigmatic smile. The phrase sent an unexpected chill through Krulvex's exoskeleton. How could they have been expecting the conclave? First contact protocols were clear. No prior communication should have occurred. As the delegation moved toward the conference facility, Krulvex's auxiliary eyes scanned their surroundings. The visible security personnel carried only basic projectile weapons, consistent with their technological assessment. Yet something felt wrong. "Your orbital infrastructure appears quite extensive for a species that achieved spaceflight only 32 years ago," he remarked casually. Ambassador Chen's stride didn't falter. "We believe in thorough preparation. Overseer, Earth has always valued defensive capabilities." Inside the conference chamber, representatives from Earth's major regions waited around a circular table. Krulvex noted with approval that they appeared appropriately awed by his delegation's entrance. "We are honored by your presence," began Secretary General Okamura. "Though I must admit, we had anticipated your arrival would come somewhat later." Again, that troubling suggestion of foreknowledge. Krulvex decided to accelerate the proceedings. "The Conclave offers Earth protection and membership as a client world. Your resources and unique biological diversity will be appropriately harvested, and in exchange, you will receive limited access to Conclave technologies suitable for your development level." He activated a holographic display showing the standard resource extraction projections. "We require merely 35% of your planetary resources. This arrangement is most generous." The human representatives exchanged glances that Krulvex couldn't interpret. Was that amusement in their eyes? Ambassador Chen folded her hands. "We appreciate your offer, Overseer. Our leadership will require 72 hours to formulate an appropriate response." Krulvex magnanimously inclined his head. "Granted, though I assure you, there is only one rational choice." What he couldn't see was the quantum-encrypted message Ambassador Chen sent the moment he turned away. "Visitor has landed. Prepare Phoenix Protocol. 72 hours until revelation." Captain Marcus Rodriguez guided his stealth shuttle through the asteroid field surrounding Jupiter, expertly navigating between jagged rocks that would have confounded automated systems. The shuttle's hull, coated in light-absorbing metamaterials developed from a crashed alien scout ship, remained invisible to conventional scanners. Approaching Olympus Base, authorization code Phoenix 7 Delta Wyvern, Rodriguez transmitted on a frequency that operated between standard quantum bands, another innovation derived from the recovered technology. A section of what appeared to be a normal asteroid face shimmered and dissolved, revealing a massive docking bay. Rodriguez eased the shuttle through the opening, which sealed seamlessly behind him. The interior of Olympus Base defied all expectations of what humanity could achieve. Sprawling shipyards extended for kilometers within Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede, hollowed out and shielded over 5 decades of secret development. Engineers and crew members from every nation on Earth moved with practiced efficiency around vessels that would have stunned the conclave delegation. Commander Elena Takashi waited as Rodriguez disembarked. "The diplomatic charade is proceeding as planned." Rodriguez nodded, following her toward a transport tube that would take them deeper into the base. "Ambassador Chen has them completely convinced. The conclave believes they're dealing with a disorganized planet of primitives barely capable of reaching their own moon." The transport tube deposited them onto an observation platform overlooking the primary construction bay. Below them floated the EDS Reckoning, humanity's first true battlecruiser and the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet. Unlike the Conclave's elegant, almost artistic vessels, the Reckoning was built with pragmatic human principles, redundant systems, compartmentalized sections, and an array of weapons that prioritized effectiveness over aesthetic appeal. "They build their ships like artwork," Rodriguez remarked, gazing at the Reckoning's imposing silhouette. "We build ours like fortresses." Commander Takashi smiled slightly. 50 years of preparation, all coming down to the next 72 hours. Was the conclave representative as arrogant as intelligence predicted? "Worse," Rodriguez replied. Krulvex didn't even try to mask his contempt. "He genuinely believes we're going to hand over a third of our planet's resources out of gratitude for their protection." A technician approached with a data tablet, which Takashi reviewed quickly before dismissing him with a nod. The final weapons tests exceeded expectations. The phase disruptors can penetrate conclave shields without detection until impact. Their ships rely too heavily on single-path quantum computing. They never considered the possibility of parallel processing attacks on their defense algorithms. Rodriguez leaned against the railing. So many advantages, all because they never imagined a primitive species could reverse engineer their technology. That crashed scout ship was the best thing that ever happened to humanity, Takashi said. It united us like nothing before. Suddenly, all our petty conflicts seemed meaningless in the face of what was out there. The Phoenix Protocol, enacted after the recovery of the alien vessel in 2037, had transformed human civilization while maintaining a carefully constructed facade of normal development. Nations secretly pooled resources and expertise, developing technologies that leapfrogged conventional advancement while appearing, from orbit to progress at an expected pace. "Fleet status," Rodriguez asked as they moved toward the command center. "All vessels report ready for deployment. The lunar defense grid is fully operational but powered down to avoid detection. Earth's orbital platforms have their concealed weapon systems on standby." In the command center, a holographic display showed the conclave diplomatic vessel in Earth orbit, utterly unaware of the predators lurking throughout the solar system. Admiral Weizhong, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, studied the tactical display. "The moment they presented their demands, I knew our intelligence was correct. The Conclave sees every new species as simply another resource to exploit. He turned to face his officers. For 50 years, we've prepared for this moment. We've built ships that could take on the galaxy while letting them think we barely understand rocketry. In 72 hours, when they expect our surrender, they'll discover just how thoroughly humanity has deceived them. Unknown to the Conclave delegation, currently enjoying the hospitality of Earth's finest diplomatic accommodations, a countdown had begun, not to Earth's submission, but to the unveiling of humanity's greatest deception. Admiral Sophia Jones stood in the heart of Atlantis Base, 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean. The underwater command center had been constructed in absolute secrecy, its existence known only to a handful of world leaders and top military personnel. Around her, officers monitored holographic displays showing the positions of Earth's hidden fleet. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility she carried. "All vessels maintaining position in Mars Shadow Zone," reported Commander Hassan. "Emission control protocols at maximum efficiency. The Conclave ship has detected nothing beyond what we want them to see." Jones nodded. 50 Earth warships, including 3 Dreadnought-class vessels, floated silently behind the Red Planet, their advanced stealth systems rendering them invisible to the Conclave's scanning technology. "And the Jupiter contingent. Ready to transit on your command, Admiral. Captain Rodriguez has the reckoning at 97% combat readiness. Earth's strategy relied on perfect timing. The negotiations in Geneva would continue until the deadline. And then, only then, would humanity reveal its true capabilities." In the Geneva International Conference Center, Chief Negotiator James Wong deliberately prolonged the diplomatic discussions. A master of subtle delay tactics, he had been frustrating the Conclave delegation for nearly 3 days with increasingly technical questions about their proposed protection agreement. "So if I understand correctly," Wong said, adjusting his glasses with practiced deliberation, "the extraction of rare earth elements would begin in what you call priority zones, which appear to correspond to our most populated urban centers." Senior Overseer Krolvex struggled to maintain his composure. "As I have explained repeatedly, the extraction process is entirely compatible with continued human habitation. The minor radiation effects are well within your species' tolerance limits." Wong nodded thoughtfully, making another note on his old-fashioned paper notepad, a deliberate affectation that reinforced the Conclave's perception of human technological backwardness. "And the Administrative Oversight Committee would consist of how many Conclave representatives?" Krolvex's secondary breathing slits flared with irritation. 17 representatives, as stated in Section 43 of the agreement. This is standard procedure for all Category 3 civilizations. "Fascinating," Wong replied, checking his watch. The deadline was approaching. "And would these representatives have immunity from Earth's legal systems?" "Of course," Krolvex snapped. "Conclave officials cannot be subject to primitive local regulations." Wong smiled placidly, just clarifying. "Now, regarding the cultural integration programs." "Enough." Krolvex rose to his full height, towering over the human delegation. "Your 72 hours have elapsed. The Conclave requires your answer now. Accept our generous protection, or face the consequences of isolation in a dangerous galaxy." Wong exchanged glances with Ambassador Chen, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "We have prepared our response," Wong said, sliding a simple data tablet across the table. "Earth's unified position on your proposal." Krolvex snatched up the device, his translator processing the human text. "The terms are respectfully declined," he read aloud, his voice modulating into the Conclave equivalent of disbelief. "Earth proposes alternative arrangements." "This is unacceptable," he hissed. "There are no alternative arrangements. You will accept Conclave protection or—" Wong raised his hand, interrupting the alien's tirade. Perhaps a visual aid might clarify our position. He activated a holographic projector that the Conclave had assumed was primitive atmospheric monitoring equipment. The display showed a real-time tactical map of the Sol system, including the previously hidden Earth fleet surrounding the conclave diplomatic vessel. 217 warships, Ambassador Chen said quietly. All equipped with weapon systems capable of penetrating your shields, derived from technology we've been developing since recovering your scout ship in 2037. Kralvek staggered backward, his exoskeleton paling to an ashen gray. Impossible. Your species cannot have. Perhaps, Wang suggested mildly, his voice in stark contrast to the shock on the alien's face, we should discuss terms more befitting equals. In Atlantis base, Admiral Jones received the encoded signal and allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The charade is over, she announced to her command staff. Deactivate emission control protocols. Let them see us. Throughout the solar system, Earth's warships emerged from hiding, powering up systems that had remained dormant for decades. The moment of revelation had arrived. Impossible deception. Grand Commander Zextrol snarled from the bridge of the conclave flagship Eternal Majesty. These primitive displays are nothing but elaborate holograms meant to intimidate us. His tactical officers' appendages trembled as they manipulated the control surfaces. The readings appear authentic, Grand Commander. We're detecting multiple vessels with energy signatures that match no known configuration. Launch a single scout to verify, Zextrol ordered, his pride preventing him from accepting the obvious truth. The scout vessel had barely cleared the Eternal Majesty's launch bay when a targeted electromagnetic pulse struck with surgical precision. The small craft's systems immediately failed, leaving it drifting helplessly in Earth's orbit. First warning delivered. Lieutenant Maya Patel reported from the bridge of the EDS Defiant, one of Earth's swift attack vessels. Pulse calibrated to disable without causing permanent damage. Admiral Jones's voice came through the encrypted channel. Well done, Lieutenant. Maintain position and prepare for Phase 2. On the Eternal Majesty, chaos erupted as secondary systems began failing in cascading sequence. Impossible, Zextrol roared. Their technology cannot penetrate our quantum shielding. His chief engineer's voice wavered over the internal communication system. They've somehow synchronized their attack frequency with our shield modulation. It's as if they've studied our technology for decades. Throughout Earth's orbit, human warships moved with precision that confounded conclave battle computers. Instead of maintaining orderly formations, Earth vessels executed seemingly random maneuvers, making them nearly impossible to target effectively. Lieutenant Patil led her squadron of 12 interceptors through the debris field of a shattered moon fragment, a route the conclave tactical systems classified as navigational suicide. Yet the human pilots threaded their ships through the hazardous terrain with practiced ease, emerging behind the conclave's defensive line. Target their communication arrays first, Patil ordered her squadron. Let's isolate them from each other. The interceptors unleashed a barrage of focused energy weapons, technology reverse-engineered from the crashed scout ship, but modified with distinctly human innovations. Unlike conclave weapons that prioritized elegant efficiency, Earth's armaments emphasized overwhelming force and functional redundancy. On the bridge of the Eternal Majesty, Zextrol watched in horror as his fleet's coordinated defense collapsed into individual ships fighting for survival. How are they breaching our secure channels? He demanded. Our encryption is mathematically unbreakable. The communications officer looked up, mandibles clicking in distress. They're not breaking the encryption, sir. They're using our own communication protocols against us, intercepting and replicating authenticated command sequences. The human approach to electronic warfare had proved devastatingly effective. While the Conclave had perfected unbreakable encryption, they had never considered that someone might simply hijack the communication channels themselves. From his command shuttle, Captain Rodriguez coordinated the assault on the Conclave flagship. Boarding teams, prepare for insertion. Remember, we want prisoners and intact systems. This is about sending a message, not destruction. Commander Elena Takashi led the first boarding party, their specialized suits designed for both vacuum operations and close-quarters combat. "Breach charges set," she reported, preparing to enter through their secondary engineering access port. The precisely calculated explosion created a controlled rupture in the Eternal Majesty's hull. Before emergency force fields could engage, Takashi's team was inside, moving with practiced efficiency through corridors designed for beings very different from humans. "Their internal security is responding," Takashi reported calmly as energy bolts sizzled past her position. "Exactly as predicted. Deploying countermeasures." Small devices clattered across the deck, releasing a carefully calibrated electromagnetic field that rendered Conclave energy weapons temporarily inert. The alien security forces found themselves facing humans armed with projectile weapons, primitive technology that required no power source to function. Within 27 minutes of the first electromagnetic pulse, Commander Takashi's team reached the bridge of the Eternal Majesty. Grand Commander Zextral found himself staring down the barrel of a human weapon, held by a species he had dismissed as barely worth noticing mere hours before. "The bridge is secured," Takashi reported, awaiting further instructions. In Geneva, Wong displayed the live feed of the captured Conclave flagship to the shocked diplomatic delegation. "Now," he said calmly to Senior Overseer Krolvex, "about those alternative arrangements we proposed." News of Earth's victory spread through the galactic communication network like a quantum cascade. On Nexus Prime, the gleaming capital world of the Conclave, the High Council initially dismissed the reports as communication errors or deliberate misinformation. "Impossible," declared High Counselor Vexmera, her crystalline exoskeleton glittering under the council chamber's lights. "A Category 3 civilization cannot defeat a Conclave expedition force. The records are corrupted." Yet the silence from the Sol System expedition grew more concerning by the hour. No scheduled reports arrived. No vessels returned. The unthinkable had occurred. A species deemed barely worthy of notice had somehow obliterated or captured an entire Conclave fleet. Dr. Elias Okafor, leading Earth's newly revealed diplomatic corps, recognized the narrow window of opportunity this confusion created. His teams had already boarded captured Conclave vessels, equipped with complete navigational data and communication protocols. "Deploy diplomatic vessels to all identified subjugated worlds within a 40 light-year radius," he instructed from the Geneva Command Center. "Priority targets are those most recently incorporated into the Conclave hierarchy." Within the mineral-rich Teresia system, the native inhabitants had labored under Conclave oversight for nearly 2 decades. Their world, rich in rare elements crucial for quantum propulsion systems, had been stripped methodically while the Teresians themselves were relegated to the status of labor resources. Liberation Commander Natalia Sokolov's diplomatic vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Teresian system, broadcasting Conclave identification codes extracted from captured databases. "Conclave Oversight Station. This is Special Envoy Vessel Harbinger requesting immediate diplomatic landing clearance," she transmitted using perfect Conclave communication protocols. The unsuspecting station granted permission without question. When Sokolov's team disembarked, the Conclave administrators were caught completely unprepared for the heavily armed humans who swiftly secured the facility without firing a single shot. "We represent Earth," Sokolov announced to the stunned Teresian representatives, gathered by the confused Conclave administrators. "We have defeated the Conclave fleet that attempted to subjugate our world, and we offer you the same opportunity for freedom." The Teresians, tall beings with iridescent skin and 4 primary limbs, responded with initial skepticism that transformed into cautious hope as Sokolov shared visual evidence of the captured Conclave flagship. "Why would you help us?" asked Elder Karizel, the senior Teresian representative. "Because we believe all species deserve self-determination," Sokolov replied. "And because together, we stand a better chance against Conclave retaliation than either of us does alone." She unfolded a portable holographic projector displaying schematics for a planetary defense system. "These can be constructed using resources available on your world. We don't offer to fight your battles for you. We offer you the means to fight them yourselves." Similar scenes unfolded across a dozen worlds as Earth's diplomatic vessels, staffed with military advisors and engineers, made contact with species suffering under Conclave rule. Each carried not just news of the Conclave's defeat, but practical assistance tailored to each world's specific needs and capabilities. Meanwhile, the captured Conclave vessels yielded an intelligence treasure trove beyond Earth's most optimistic projections. Commander Takashi led the technical analysis team aboard the Eternal Majesty. They never expected their systems to be compromised, she reported to Admiral Jones. Their security protocols are sophisticated but implemented carelessly. We've extracted access codes to the entire galactic navigation network. Jones's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display showing newly discovered hyperspace routes connecting major Conclave military installations. They've maintained power through control of information. No subject species knows the full extent of the transit network. Until now, Takashi added with a slight smile. Jones nodded decisively. Prepare rapid response battle groups for deployment to these key intersections. She indicated 5 critical junctions on the display. If we control these points, we control movement throughout this entire sector. As Earth's forces moved with unprecedented speed through the hyperspace network, the carefully maintained image of Conclave invincibility crumbled further. Reports spread across thousands of worlds, strange human vessels appearing without warning, striking with precision, and vanishing before response fleets could mobilize. The galaxy had awakened to a new reality. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had changed the rules of engagement entirely. The Conclave's Supreme Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never witnessed such discord. Representatives from a dozen powerful species argued vehemently, their voices rising in a cacophony of sounds barely translatable by the chamber's advanced systems. 3 standard cycles and still no resolution to the human problem, High Counselor Vex Mera declared, silencing the chamber with her resonant voice. This unprecedented defeat cannot stand. The Conclave's authority throughout the galaxy wanes with each passing moment. The humans have already liberated 7 client worlds, reported Defense Minister Krelzoth. Their vessels appear without warning using our own hyperspace routes. We must respond with overwhelming force. The Supreme Council finally declared a formal state of war against Earth, only the 3rd such declaration in the Conclave's 12,000-year history. Grand Admiral Zexvelar, architect of 100 victorious campaigns, was summoned from retirement to lead the legendary 7th Fleet. We will crush this insolent species with overwhelming numbers, Zexvelar proclaimed as he reviewed the assembled armada. Over 300 capital ships and nearly 1,000 support vessels. These humans have enjoyed the advantage of surprise, but that advantage is now lost. His strategy seemed flawless. Divide human forces by threatening multiple Earth allies simultaneously, then crush each isolated group with overwhelming numbers. The Conclave had never lost a conventional war of attrition. Their industrial capacity could produce warships faster than any known civilization. Earth's response came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Commander Thomas O'Kave had spent his early career studying ancient naval warfare on Earth's oceans. As he examined the Conclave battle plans extracted from their tactical databases, he recognized a pattern. They fight by the book, he explained to Admiral Jones in Earth's war room. Their tactics haven't fundamentally changed in millennia because they've never needed to evolve. Okibi proposed something audacious that became known as the Anvil strategy. Let them come to us, he explained, pointing to a seemingly empty region of space on the tactical display. Not to Earth, not to our allies, but here, where they expect to find nothing. Over the previous weeks, Earth engineers had deployed thousands of automated weapon platforms throughout this unremarkable sector, disguised as mining equipment and debris. The Hades array lay dormant along the Conclave fleet's projected approach vector, waiting for the perfect moment. The Conclave values order and precision above all else, Okibi continued. Their formations are mathematically perfect and perfectly predictable. When Grand Admiral Zexvelar led his forces through the Cygnus transit point, His ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in immaculate formation. Sensors showed scattered energy signatures that tactical computers identified as a disorganized human defense force, exactly as expected. Pitiful, Zexveller commented from his command throne. They've overextended themselves. This rabble is all they could muster to defend this sector. The illusion shattered moments later as the Hades array activated simultaneously. Thousands of weapon platforms, previously invisible among the starfield, locked onto specific targets throughout the conclave formation. "We are surrounded," cried the tactical officer as alarms blared across the command deck. Unknown weapons platforms on all vectors. Instead of the chaotic firefight Zexveller had anticipated, his fleet found itself caught in the most elaborate ambush in military history. The human weapons fired in precisely calculated sequences, targeting propulsion systems and weapons arrays while deliberately avoiding life support sections. "They're not trying to destroy us," Zexveller realized with dawning comprehension. "They're trying to capture our fleet intact." His command vessel shuddered as precision strikes disabled its primary systems. Throughout the formation, conclave ships found themselves adrift, weapons offline, but crews largely unharmed. Lieutenant Commander Okibi watched from the command center of the Hades array as the conclave fleet status indicators shifted from red to yellow. "Disabled, but not destroyed. Phase 1 complete," he reported. "Estimated 93% of enemy vessels neutralized with minimal structural damage. Boarding teams can begin operations on your command, Admiral." The vaunted 7th Fleet, the conclave's mightiest armada, surrendered almost intact, with minimal casualties on either side. The Anvil strategy had proven devastatingly effective, but perhaps most shocking to the conclave was the human approach to victory. They had deliberately spared alien lives when complete destruction would have been simpler. As Commander Okibi had predicted, this incomprehensible mercy confused the conclave leadership far more than any devastating attack could have. While Earth's military successes captured galactic attention, Dr. Isabella Chen worked quietly on what many considered the more difficult challenge: building a sustainable political alternative to the conclave's millennia of dominance. "Military victories alone won't transform the galaxy," she explained to the United Earth Security Council. "We need to offer something better than conquest, or we're no different than those we've defeated." Omega Station, a massive commercial hub at the intersection of 3 major trade routes, had maintained careful neutrality throughout centuries of conclave rule. Its administrators, motivated primarily by profit, agreed to host Earth's proposed diplomatic gathering in exchange for exclusive trade agreements. Representatives from 17 species arrived over the course of a standard week, some longtime conclave members grown disillusioned with its increasingly oppressive policies, others recently liberated from subjugation, and several that had carefully maintained independence through isolation or strategic value. The gathering deliberately violated traditional conclave protocols from the outset. Instead of arranging delegates by technological development level or military strength, Chen designed a circular chamber where all participants sat as equals. Conclave observer Krolvan, permitted to attend only under strict limitations, immediately protested this arrangement. "This violates all diplomatic precedent. The speaking order must follow hierarchical standing." Chen disarmed him with unexpected humor. "On Earth, we learned that the best conversations happen when everyone can see each other's faces, especially when discussing terms for a new galactic order." Her subtle emphasis on "new" silenced the observer. The message was clear. The old rules no longer applied. The Volturian delegate, his translucent skin glowing with skepticism, leaned forward. "Earth's military prowess is impressive, but what prevents you from becoming the next conclave? Why should we trade one dominant species for another?" The question hung in the air, exactly as Chen had anticipated. Rather than answering directly, she gestured to Commander Sokolov, who entered with the Teresian delegation. 3 standard months ago, the Teresians were classified by the conclave as pre-sentient labor resources. Chen stated, "Today, they take their place as equals at this table." Elder Carizel stepped forward, his iridescent skin shimmering under the chamber lights. Humans helped us liberate our world, but then did something unprecedented. They left. His melodic voice carried clearly through the translation systems. They offered knowledge, not occupation. Defense technology, not military bases. They asked for alliance, not submission. The chamber fell silent as the implications rippled through the assembly. The Volturian skepticism visibly receded. The conclave maintains control through dependence, Chen continued. We propose cooperation through mutual benefit. No species commands another. No world's resources are extracted without fair compensation. Technology is shared rather than hoarded. A Meridian representative, whose crystalline form sparkled with internal light, raised a pointed appendage. Noble sentiments, but what protects these principles once established? What prevents the strong from dominating the weak, as has always occurred? Chen nodded to Admiral Jones, who had remained silently observing from the edge of the chamber. The Admiral activated a holographic display, showing the current disposition of Earth's fleet, now supplemented with vessels from a dozen worlds, all incorporating elements of human design philosophy. A mutual defense pact with teeth, Jones stated simply. Any aggression against a member world faces response from all. No single species, including humans, controls this force. The signing of the Omega Accords took place 27 hours later, establishing the Galactic Cooperative with principles of mutual defense, technological exchange, and genuine self-determination for all member worlds. The Conclave observer departed immediately, his coded message to Nexus Prime containing a single urgent warning. The humans aren't building an empire. They're building something far more dangerous, an alliance of equals. Admiral Jones, watching from Earth via secure transmission, allowed herself a rare smile. Phase 1 complete, she noted in her personal log. Now comes the hard part, proving we meant every word. 5 years after humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage, the massive EDS Prometheus docked at Unity Station orbiting the neutral world of Centauri Prime. The station's architecture reflected its multicultural heritage. Elegant meridian crystalline structures flowed seamlessly into practical human designs, supplemented by the organic curves favored by Terrasian engineers. Captain Marcus Rodriguez, now a decorated fleet commander, adjusted his formal dress uniform as he prepared to escort Earth President Amara Osei to the Cooperative's first full assembly. The corridors bustled with representatives from 32 different worlds, their diverse physiologies and cultural expressions creating a tapestry unprecedented in galactic history. Hard to believe it's only been 5 years, remarked Commander Takashi, who had accompanied Rodriguez from the early days of Earth's hidden fleet. From a species the conclave barely noticed to this. Rodriguez nodded, watching a delegation of methane-breathing Vorlon representatives float past in their specialized environmental suits. The Concordat Intelligence Division still doesn't understand how we advanced so quickly. Their latest assessment suggests we must have had help from some unknown elder species. They still can't accept that we simply fought differently, Takashi replied with a slight smile. President Osei emerged from her quarters, her dignified bearing and calm demeanor belying the significance of the day ahead. The conclave, reduced to a fraction of its former territory, had finally requested formal peace negotiations after years of declining influence and military defeats. Madam President, Rodriguez said with a respectful nod, the assembly awaits your arrival. As they walked through the station's grand promenade, Rodriguez found himself reflecting on humanity's unexpected journey. They still don't fully understand, he observed quietly. They think our advantage was hidden technology or superior numbers. President Osei stopped by a viewport, gazing at the assembled fleet of ships from a dozen worlds. The vessels displayed remarkable diversity in design, yet all incorporated elements of Earth's practical philosophy, redundant systems, effective defenses, and an emphasis on crew survival over aesthetic considerations. Our real advantage was perspective, she replied thoughtfully. When you spend your history knowing you're not the strongest species on your own planet, you develop different instincts about survival. Humans had evolved alongside predators faster and stronger than themselves. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own destructive tendencies. This crucible had forged a species that never took dominance for granted, a mindset incomprehensible to the Conclave, which had known only uncontested power for millennia. As they entered the Grand Assembly Hall, representatives from across the galaxy rose in respect, not just for Earth's military prowess, but for creating a coalition based on mutual respect rather than dominance. The Teresian elder Carizel, now serving as the cooperative's first elected coordinator, gestured President Osai toward the central speaking position. 5 years ago, humanity was unknown to us. Carizel's melodic voice resonated through the chamber. Today we gather as equals to formalize peace with the Conclave and chart our collective future. The Conclave delegation, led by High Counselor Vex Mara herself, entered with considerably less ceremony than they would have demanded in previous years. Their once resplendent ceremonial attire had been replaced by simpler garments, a visual acknowledgement of changed circumstances. "We come seeking equitable terms," Vex Mara stated, the words clearly difficult for her to pronounce. The Conclave recognizes the cooperative as a sovereign political entity. President Osai inclined her head slightly. "The cooperative welcomes the opportunity for peaceful coexistence. Our terms are straightforward: recognition of all member worlds' independence and a non-aggression pact guaranteed by mutual verification protocols." Beyond the assembly hall windows, the first joint patrol of the new cooperative defense force prepared to depart, warships of varied designs flying in formation. Their mission was no longer conquest or even deterrence, but maintaining the peace that allowed commerce and cultural exchange to flourish. As Captain Rodriguez watched the proceedings, he recalled Admiral Jones's words years earlier. "Our goal isn't to rule the galaxy. It's to ensure no one else does either." Humanity's warships had indeed taken the galaxy by surprise, not just through their unexpected appearance, but through the vision they ultimately served. A galaxy determined by cooperation rather than conquest. An alliance of equals rather than an empire of subjects. The stars had been realigned, and the cosmos would never be the same.